Everybody awake? Yeah. All right, everybody do me a favor, do one of these. We're at the freedom, ain't it great? You know, it's a sad tragedy that I came from the birthplace of freedom just 2 days ago, but it took me a 1-hour bus ride, 5-hour plane ride, and a $40 cab ride to find freedom again. How tragic is that in this country, huh? Before I go on, Pat Walker, are you still in the room? Pat? We still held the bridge in Concord when I left, so we're okay. Other than that, I don't know. But let me tell you a little bit about what's going on in Massachusetts. July 23rd this summer was the 10-year anniversary when the Massachusetts legislature passed the 1998 Gun Control Act. At that time, we had 1.5 million licensed gun owners in the state of Massachusetts. 10 years later, we're down to 220,000. The very same time, Massachusetts Department of Public Health put out the statistics, and if you want all of them, if you go to gold.org on the web, our homepage now is a black screen with those statistics. Gun licenses are down 85% in 10 years. Gun-related homicides up 70%. Gun-related assaults up 300%. Heck of a success in Massachusetts. We got our tails handed to us in 1998. We stood 12,000 against 6 million. We certainly made a ruckus, but we weren't able to stop it. In the old days, we tried the old head-on approaches. We're going to attack people. We're going to come after them. Well, you can't charge the ramparts with 12,000 people against 6 million, even if you're Scottish. We like to do things like that, but it's not very effective. The big joke up in the State House is when Jim shows up with a blue face paint and killed, all negotiations are over, but that's for another day. May not be too far away, but we stand again. We have a problem in Massachusetts too. We can't take anything to court based on the Second Amendment because in 1976, the Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled we do not have the right to keep and bear arms in Massachusetts, so it makes it extraordinarily difficult to take anything to court in relation to guns. But anyway, it didn't take us long after that defeat where we learned we had to change our tactics. We had to change the conversation. You can't go head-to-head with the antis who have the legislature and the press on their side. Quite often when I go on TV shows and radio shows, not only am I debating our opposition, I'm debating the host. So it's usually at least 2 against 1. Well, these are some of the ways that I have, as a Scotsman, started to have fun with some of this. And believe me, I have to hide my anger. When I get home sometimes, I grimace so hard I clean out my ears. But don't let them see that, because that's exactly what they want to show the public. Great example. This past winter, I got a chance to speak at Clark University, Worcester, Massachusetts. I don't want to say they lean a little bit to this direction, but if they did any more, they'd walk the class horizontally. So anyway, first thing I did to confuse them when I got up and introduced myself in front of this auditorium of people was introduce myself as a civil rights lobbyist, and the place went quiet. And I heard this kid up in the back, I thought this was about guns. It's number 2 in the Bill of Rights. You should have learned that by now. So anyway, they had set up a big screen for me. You know, with the keyboard, I can type anything I want. So I said, in order to get the conversation rolling here, kids, who here believes the Second Amendment should be done away with? Only government, military, police should own guns. Hands up all over the room. I expected that. I said, okay, let's put that on the screen. Only government, military, police should have guns. Okay, we got that now. Now, of all those people who just raised their hands on that, could you please stand up for the audience? Quite a number of kids stood up. And I said, now, I assumed, because of that statement you just made, you're all huge George Bush supporters. Woo! In unison. Dick Cheney, Halliburton, blood for oil. They lied, people died. Okay, let's write that on the screen. Government kills citizens to cover up lies and get oil. Now let's compare those 2 statements from the same people. Change the discussion. A little while ago, oh, and by the way, just to really kill it, I went to one of the young young ladies in the front row and stood up and I said, what's your name? And I honestly can't remember, it was Lynn or something. And she said, Lynn, and I said, Lynn, turn around. I said, say hi to everybody. I said, everybody, meet one of the bravest young ladies I've ever met. She turned to me and said, why do you say that? I said, you just told me in 2 sentences, you're willing to give up your last means of personal self-defense to a government who's going to kill you for a quart of oil. You're pretty brave. So, I want to talk show with my nemesis, John Rosenthal from Stop Handgun Violence. By the way, he was one of those guys that founded the pro-gun group American Hunters and Shooters. That endorsement. Anyway, he is now trying to take his show on the road, and his big thing is now background checks at gun shows. Well, unfortunately, we were having this mess, but I was willing to go on the show with him, and he and the host are going back and forth on this, you know, about what a great thing this is, we can stop crime, and they finally turned to me and said, Jim, do you support this? And I said, well, I support the presumption of innocence. How about you? Well, yeah, we need gun shows, background checks. What about the terrorist watch list? Don't you believe people on the terrorist watch list should have a background check? John, what's a terrorist watch list? Well, it's at least people that are suspected of terrorism. Suspected. Okay. John, how do you get on that list? I don't know. John, how do you get off that list? I don't know. John, are you on that list? Why would you say that? Well, if you don't know how you get on, you don't get it off. You might be on it, you better check. So then I went to the Judiciary Committee, and they had a hearing on the one gun a month bill, which every time I talk to the press, I call the Lawful Citizen Imprisonment Act. That's what it is. You didn't do anything wrong, bought 2 guns. I went through my own testimony about how you have to get licensed, what you have to go through to buy a handgun in Massachusetts. It took me about a half hour. One of the legislators on the committee, the panel, was foolish enough to actually say to me, well, Mr. Wallace, we appreciate your concerns, but after all, you know, we need some security. When I go to the airport, I have to go through a metal detector to get on a plane. Representative, thank you very much. Before you bought the ticket for the airline, did you have to get a license to buy the ticket? Did you have to get your police chief's permission to get the license to buy the ticket? Did you have to go through a background check, fill out a federal form, fill out a state form, go through a NICS check when you got the license to buy the ticket? Did you have to buy a ticket from an Attorney General approved airplane? And then when you did that, and you finally got all that together, and you finally made it to the airport, and you found the plane you want to get on, and you went through the metal detector, was there a guy on the airplane standing there with a list that said, I'm sorry, Representative Keene, you already flew once this month, you're under arrest, because after all, terrorists use airplanes to kill people, not guns. Change the debate. Don't take the premise of their questions, keep them off